Hi everybody. Very sorry for that abrupt ending yesterday. It's now the next day. I'm sorry for that. Somebody pulled up outside. I saw them coming and realized I had lost track of time. So I just had to go. All right, so we're at either the last part of this, second to last part of this video. I hope you all have been, I realize if you're watching this all at one time, you haven't had time to maybe really think about it. I think this is super cool that I thought of this because it gives me, I'll speak for myself, it gives me a real insight into how Fenn thinks. For those of you that think this is totally out of whack, I just think you're never going to find the treasure because you don't understand the scope of Fenn's thinking and you don't understand the method to his madness. It is not madness. He is putting things out there that smart people or learned people or old people are going to be able to pick up on. And that's all I can tell you. If this is true, what I have just figured out, you'll see very shortly where it actually ties in with the chase. Hey, Belle. Hey, Tober. You'll see how it ties in with the chase, and I think you'll be very surprised that it does tie in with the chase, but I agree it's a little out there, but I don't care because this solve has to be kind of out there. Now, I will say this before I go any further. This is not the solve. When I give you the area that this is going to point to, I do not believe it is where the chest is. I do not believe it is the blaze. I believe it is pointing out a spot on the map as we plot the course, or it's pointing to a place that you can even just put you in the region. You know, I specifically believe the treasure chest is in the Madison River area / Yellowstone Park, but really I tend to go more towards Madison River. But it's all in that area around West Yellowstone where Fenn stayed every summer. So without further ado, let's go. Excuse me. All right. The scenario thus far. The scenario thus far. Fenn has constructed a story where he goes out to Grebe Lake in Yellowstone Park. I believe he has a run-in with Howard Hughes, as far out as that sounds, and flattens Hughes' tires because Hughes and his men, bodyguards, whatever you want to call them, have taken his favorite camping spot so that he and Woods had to go to a different spot on Grebe Lake. Somehow during the night, two tires are flattened on this car. He says these men, which we think Fenn did, and he says he thinks, why am I doing this? You just watch the videos. Okay, so the lead man wears tennis shoes with a suit, and he, which was a Howard Hughes trademark back in the 40s, and he thinks these men have escaped the rigors of Washington. As I said earlier, Washington in 1947, Howard Hughes was essentially having to defend his name against people in Washington, D.C. who were saying he had basically embezzled money from the government, taking money for things he didn't produce, like aeroplanes. Without any further ado, let's go on. I realize for you guys, you're watching the videos. If we're watching them all one in one, I'm being redundant. What has this got to do with the treasure hunt? How could this possibly even connect to the treasure hunt? Well, I did something very simple. I got to this point of reading the story. I personally do not believe the story actually happened. I believe that very likely Fenn did take Wood out to Grebe Lake. I think the part about Howard Hughes was made up specifically because of something that happened with Howard Hughes that has something to do with Yellowstone Park. When I first Googled Howard Hughes in Yellowstone Park, I thought there's no way. I've read numerous books about Howard Hughes, just like I read numerous books about Osborne Russell and all sorts of people. I mean, I loved to read. When I was younger, I read a lot, English major, the whole nerd thing with reading. And so I knew a lot about Howard Hughes. I had to say, though, I thought, Howard Hughes in Yellowstone? Never had read such a thing. He was very urban. He was a very urban thinking man. You never read anything about Howard Hughes fly fishing or stuff. So when I went after this, I Googled it and I thought, yeah, it's going to be a long shot. It wasn't a long shot at all. This is the connection to Howard Hughes and Yellowstone National Park. In 1934, Howard Hughes, excuse me, having some iced coffee. In 1934, Howard Hughes built this beautiful plane. I'm not a real plane aficionado. I'm not an aeronautics guy. But I have to tell you, this is a beautiful, it's a cool looking plane. Obviously, I'll have pictures of it. It's a cool, I think you'll agree, it's a really cool looking plane. It's just sharp looking. It looks so fast and almost, I don't know, it's just really cool looking, I think. He built a plane called the H-1, and it was a racer. And he built it in 1934, and he set land records with it in 1935. Because that was another thing Howard Hughes liked to do. He liked to go out and set speed records with planes. Really loved planes. Pilot, aeronautical engineer, I've explained all that. What does that got to do with Yellowstone? August 6, 2003. Yellowstone National Park, Wyoming. $1 million home-built replica of a 1935 racing aircraft crashed on the banks of the Firehole River in Yellowstone National Park as its builder pilot was returning home to Oregon from a Wisconsin air show. This is a very sad story. A guy named James Wright built a replica of the H-1. They said he built this thing down to, he got the last available engine that he could put in it. They said it was so meticulous, it was virtually the same plane rebuilt. He did a fantastic job with it. And so he went out and he was an aeronautics guy. He had his own company, blah, blah, blah. He just loved the H-1, and his life dream was to build it, and he and his wife, Betty, built it, a replica. And as he was flying home from Oshkosh, Wisconsin, from an air show, he was going home to Cottage Grove, Oregon. He crashed. He crashed in the Midway, he crashed in Yellowstone National Park in the Midway Geyser Basin, about 5 miles north of Old Faithful. Yellowstone officials said the plane approached from the west about treetop level just south of the Geyser Basin parking area. It apparently struck on the west side of the Firehole River and came to rest on the east bank near the main park road, which was closed for about 5 hours after the crash. This is 2003, folks. The airplane burst into flame upon impact, but the fire was quickly extinguished by park staff. No one on the ground was hurt. Debris was strewn throughout the area, and the engine and a wing landed in the Firehole River. Some fuel leaked into the water and on the ground. Yellowstone officials said the engine was removed from the river Monday night to prevent further leakage, and cleanup of spilled fuel would be done as quickly as possible. Howard Hughes designed the original H-1B, which is on display at the Smithsonian Institution in Washington, D.C. In 1935, Hughes flew it to a speed record of 352 miles per hour, and for a brief period, he was the fastest. In 1935, Hughes flew the H-1B to a speed record of 352.322 miles per hour, and for a brief period, he was the fastest person ever to pilot an airplane. The replica was built from scratch in 2002, a 5-man team. James Wright was the man who undertook rebuilding it, and there you have it. So a man named James Wright flew a replica of Howard Hughes's H-1 racer from 1934 and 5. And there you have a connection to Howard Hughes, potentially to that story, chapter 7 in Too Far to Walk. What does it mean? I personally don't think that I went on Google, of course. I went on Google Maps, which is now very good with satellite. Google Earth stays a little ahead, but Google Earth affords me 3D. I think it doesn't matter, Eric. It doesn't matter. I think he's just pointing us to Firehole River. A lot of people think the Firehole River has something to do with this salt. A lot of people think Firehole River is where warm water is hauled. If you believe that, and he's pointing again, kind of leading us to Firehole River, that could be all this means. I'll show a picture of the actual area right where it crashed. I don't think anybody's gonna, it's right next to a parking lot, and it's all visible. There's nothing remote about it at all. That's something I gotta do another video about. I don't know if any of you saw the recent interview with Fenn, where he talks about being able, well, I'll get onto that in another. I've got a number of them coming up right away. Got a lot of stuff going on up here with this, because I'm starting to see a method to the madness. This is what I'm going to leave you with today. When you're studying this chase, when you're doing your search, weirdness is always to be investigated. Things that read strange and look strange, that are strange, that don't fit, that stand out. What has he said the blaze is? It's just something that stands out, folks. We don't know what it is. We don't know what the blaze is. It's just something that stands out. So, I'm going to leave it on that point. When you're reading the books and reading the poem, I now think the books are more important than the poem. I think the poem, I may have said this in the other ones, I'm sorry a day's gone by. I think the poem is like a skeleton. And you're out there and you have to identify a person. I'll take it back. I think the poem's like dental work. I like to watch the crime shows, the real ones, just to watch how insane everyone is, including me. Hey, Bill. I think they're like the dental work. I think when you finally figure out the hints and stuff and you get it all figured out looking at the poem, but the poem is going to be the thing that keeps you centered. The poem is going to be the thing that you look at the hints, you see the weirdities, and you hone in on them, and you do things like this story, and you go, that's interesting. And he's pointing us to the fire hole, but I think there are all sorts of other hints out there. Some of you are probably saying, gosh, a lot of, to think of all that weird stuff. Who would have ever thought of that? Well, some of us are going to think of it, some aren't. I'm going to look at other stories that you might look at and go, I really think there's a meaning to this weirdness. But the thing is, all I can say, I'll leave it at this. Slow down when you see weirdness. Slow down. Read it again. Read it a third time. Why is he saying something? Why is he repeating something? But I have to say, I read this story one time, and the stuff about the tennis shoes and all this Washington, here's what my brain did that I think a lot of us do. I kind of went, does not compute, move on. Keep reading. And I never went back, except that every once in a while I just briefly go, I go through these things and I read them again, or, I read it again, and this time I went, wow. Anyway, I hope you guys have found this all entertaining. I think it's a really cool theory. I'm sticking with it because the story does not make any sense to me otherwise. Chapter 7 makes no sense when we start talking about strange men and big black limousines, unless my theory holds. So everybody have a good day, and I've got some more stuff coming up. I'm pretty excited. I like thinking I have some idea of what I'm doing. So everybody, goodbye.